So I'd like to call this meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, December the 9th, 2025. It's 9 a.m. and we're in the central jury room of the Ralph H. Walton Jr. Justice Center at 1200 West Pearl Street in Granbury, Texas. This is a regular meeting of the Hood County Commissioners Court. We're very pleased and honored to have with us today Mrs. Kim Irwin of the Brazos Pregnancy Clinic here to give us the invocation.
It stays on now. We thank you, Heavenly Lord God, King of the universe, who's given us this beautiful town that we live in, Lord God, for all the people, Father, that have come here today to participate in this county commissioners meeting. We thank you, Father, for this beautiful gathering that we have, Father, for the commissioners that have joined together, Lord God, to give you praise, to make this town as good as it can be, Lord God. We ask that you join with them, that you make their hands strong, that you build them up, Lord God, to do the will of your will, Lord God, and you bind those who work to go against you, Lord God. Help us to join together, to work together in fellowship, to do your will. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Battle pledge, great state of Texas.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay. The no service awards, no honor awards. All right. On the citizens' comments at large, I think the county clerk has told me there's 17. Is that right? 21 comments. We're going to go ahead and let each person have a maximum of 5 minutes today on these public comments. And may I remind everybody that this is a court of law. Please act as though. Let's don't have any rude comments. Let's keep it civil. And the first speaker is C.J. Grisham. Is the microphone on, Mr. Grisham?
Test.
Yeah, good.
I can use my first sergeant voice too. County Judge, Commissioners, my name is C.J. Grisham. I'm a First and Second Amendment attorney here in the state of Texas. I'm also a retired counterintelligence special agent with the DOD with over 21 years of service. On November 25th, at this body's Commissioner Court meeting, you began your open mic with a statement that, quote, "It's the intention of the Commissioners Court to voice your opinion," and then noted that you have rules of decorum. You further stated that, quote, "It is not the intention of this court to provide a public forum for the demeaning of any individual or group, neither is it the intention of the court to allow a member of the public to insult the honesty or integrity of the court as a body or any member of the court individually or collectively." You then claimed that, quote, "Insulting and profane language directed at the court or any person on the court present will not be tolerated," unquote. Prior restraint in the context of the First Amendment refers to administrative or judicial orders that forbid certain communications or expressions before they occur. Such restraints are considered a significant infringement on the constitutional right to free speech and are presumptively unconstitutional. The doctrine of prior restraint is rooted in the principle that freedom of speech and the press should not be curtailed preemptively, but rather addressed through subsequent sanctions if necessary. During public comments, Mr. Don Johnson approached the microphone, having signed up to speak. Mr. Johnson began his speech mentioning the corrupt and unconstitutional arrest of Mr. Colton Crottinger. However, rather than exercising his First Amendment protected speech, he said, quote, "I had a lot to say this morning, but I listened carefully to the judge's initial announcement. I could give you a ton of details, but I don't think the judge will let me because I'm criticizing 3 of your employees." Mr. Johnson then censored himself for fear that you, Judge Massengill, would essentially biggers him if he expressed an opinion you didn't like. What do I mean by that? Well, you were sued by Mr. Steve Biggers for censoring him in 2022 and 23. And while you were initially granted qualified immunity, the Fifth Circuit ruled that, quote, "The First Amendment secures Biggers' right to be free from viewpoint discrimination." The court further held that you, Judge Massengill, quote, your invocation of the quorum rule was a mere pretext to silence his views. The court reversed your qualified immunity in February of this year, but here you are still censoring speech with threats of unconstitutional decorum rules. First, a restriction on profanity is naturally content-based. That comes from Iancu v. Brunetti. In a designated public forum, as this is, quote, "Profanity may not be constitutionally prohibited unless it falls into a category of unprotected speech, such as fighting words or obscenity." See Becker v. City of Tupelo. And all these sites are in the paper I handed out. A prior restraint is typically defined as, quote, "a predetermined judicial prohibition restraining specified expression." It can take various forms, including gag orders, injunctions, or, as is the case here, judicial or administrative actions that prevent speech or publication in advance, like rules of decorum. While prior restraints are not unconstitutional per se, they carry a heavy presumption against their constitutionality. This presumption arises because prior restraints are considered, quote, "the most serious and least tolerable infringement on the First Amendment." That's from the Test Masters case. Courts have consistently held that such restraints are permissible only in exceptional circumstances where the government can meet a high burden of justification. The problem of unconstitutional rules of decorum come from the Texas Municipal League and the Councils of Government, which come from the National League of Cities, pushed out from Washington, D.C., which get their marching orders from the World Organization of United Cities and Local Governments, which is a part of the UN, the United Nations. In other words, you're enforcing communist edicts in your rules of decorum that are handed down by unelected bureaucrats in socialist and communist foreign countries. Stop acting like communists. Start acting like conservatives who revere the Constitution and the freedoms that people like Colton Crottinger fought for. Thank you.
Second speaker is Scott Clayton.
Commissioners, Judge, Sheriff, my name is Scott Clayton. 7 years ago in this county, my sister Ruby McPeters was murdered by a single phone call. Not a gun, not a knife, a telephone. On June 12, 2018, that day my sister stopped being a patient and became county property. Ruby McPeters gave birth by emergency C-section at Lake Granbury Medical Center. The surgeon who delivered her baby looked at her vitals, saw the complication, and refused to discharge her back to the jail. She was too sick. That should have been it. End of story. But a Hood County jail captain didn't accept that. She went doctor shopping, picked up the phone, dialed around until she found someone willing to overrule the attending physician and force Ruby's return to custody like she was property to reclaim. Later, Ruby died in agony from postpartum Clostridium sordeli, endometriosis, and sepsis, a rare toxin-driven infection that shuts down organs fast. It was 100% preventable with prompt surgery and ICU care. Ruby got neither. They claimed what killed her had a 100% mortality rate. They lied. 3 days after Ruby took her last breath, an NIH study and peer-reviewed case report hit the journals. Early intervention drops mortality by 12.5%, and the first documented survivor of this exact postpartum infection after C-section proved it. One woman lived through multiple surgeries and relentless care. Ruby missed it by 72 hours and one phone call. That single call didn't just kill my sister. It set the DNA for every jailer after. If a pregnant woman's dialing and the hospital wants to keep her, just shop for a doctor, override, pull the body, custody owns her. It wrote the playbook this county still runs. Custody first, care never. For 5 years, your sheriff hid her death from the Texas Attorney General, violating state law. 5 years, Ruby's name was erased from the maternal mortality database. Ex-Judge Happ sealed her autopsy, burying her truth in secrecy and cutting her out of critical health databases. DA Sinclair refused to speak up, ignored his ministerial duties to investigate and prosecute, silencing her story when justice demanded a voice. This county didn't just bury her twice, it erased her over and over, layer by layer. This is not the body of Christ working through us. That is, do what thou wilt. The creed of the Church of Satan, where power trumps mercy and lives are disposable. But Ruby refused to stay silent. Her blood soaked into that cell and cried out until advocates forced the truth in 2023. Her screams echoed to Austin, inspiring the maternal health and mortality rider that now mandates the study of 300 to 500 pregnant women booked into Texas jails every month. Ruby's autopsy haunts legislative desks. Her ignored CCQ high-risk flag is now mandatory training. Her 2 days of unheard pleas purchased reform for mothers in custody statewide. Yet Hood County, the playbook sits untouched. You still contract with the same hospital that took that call. You still allow the same system where a captain can shop overrides like takeout. You still pretend June 12th was just a bad day, not the day this county taught jailers how to not taught jailers how to let a mother die quietly. I'm tired of whispers. Tonight, rip that playbook apart. Do 3 things to honor Ruby or live with the stain forever. First, put her name on the record right here in the permanent minutes of this court. Say it out loud. Ruby McPeters died June 24th, 2018 after Hood County Jail personnel doctor shopped to force her discharge against her attending physician's orders. Record it so her child can find the truth one day and no sheriff ever hides it again. Second, pass a standing order tonight. No Hood County employee will ever again solicit or accept a second opinion that overrides the treating physician on a pregnant or postpartum inmate's care. Make it policy. Violation means termination, no exception. Because if you leave that door open, you're inviting the next captain to dial up the next death. Third, require monthly reports on every pregnant woman booked in this jail and every medical transfer until Texas sees Hood County leading instead of burying. Ruby broke the curse of the 100% fatal myth with her dying breath. She turned negligence into a blueprint for survival. Don't let Hood County resurrect the silence that killed her. Because the next time a pregnant woman is bleeding out in your jail and someone reaches for that phone, the state of Texas will know exactly whose playbook you chose to keep.
Thank you, Mr. Clayton. Your 5 minutes is up. Okay, the next speaker is Matt Long.
Thank you, Judge. Commissioners, appreciate you guys inviting me back for the part 2 of my sermon series on why I do not believe that Hood County should be embracing a technology that feeds on beauty, health, and natural resources. In my last talk, I mentioned how our beautiful landscape disconnects, destroying our beautiful landscape disconnects us from God. I gave biblical context on how severing that connection via nature and beauty takes us farther away from Genesis and closer to Revelation. In Revelation 13, it says that our ability to buy and sell can be turned off, likely from a large digital monitoring system that tracks our every move and every purchase. I believe that we will need large data centers for that. And in that same chapter of Revelation, it talks about the false prophet who creates an image or a statue, and he gives it life, the ability to move, the ability to think. To me, this sounds like a robot with artificial intelligence, and I believe we'll need large data centers for that. And in Daniel chapter 2, it talks about a final kingdom to rule the earth. And in Daniel's vision, he sees it as a mix of iron and clay. And clay always represents man, Adam, formed from the dust of the earth. And iron, I believe, represents machine or technology. Because if you read on, it says later that the iron will not mix with the clay. You see, just because something is technological does not mean that it is not also spiritual. There will be spiritual consequences from removing beauty and implementing technology. Because in my mind, the two are diametrically opposed. Beauty is a conduit for God, while technology is a conduit for evil. It is the foundation needed to implement a worldwide digital monitoring system where computer programs get to decide if we can buy food, if we can drive our car, if we can vote. So my question is, are we a Christian community? Are we a Christian county? Because if we are, and the interpretations of Daniel and Revelation cannot be easily discounted, then we should heed their warnings and resist this technology on principle and on a moral standing. Now, seeing as we prayed to Jesus at the beginning of this court, my contention is that we are a Christian county and that the interpretations cannot be easily discounted and that we should resist on principle and on a moral standing. Thus, to me, it doesn't matter how quiet these things are. It doesn't matter if we can see them or not. It doesn't matter what we can negotiate as far as tax breaks go. We don't want them. And according to Subchapter K of the Texas Local Government Code, we don't have to have them. So I want to say that I appreciate all the due diligence that's being put into Subchapter K. I'm excited to see that what comes out of it. And if you go to rejectbigtech.com, we've got the whole subsection there highlighted for folks to look at. But I'm going to quote Subchapter K here. It says, orderly development of the watershed, which is defined as all of Hood County, is of concern to the entire state. Without adequate development regulations, the watershed will be developed in ways that interfere with the proper use of that area as a place of recreation. So all of Hood County is defined as a place of recreation and not an industrial data hub. Those two seem like opposites to me. It says that interfering with that would be a detriment to public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. It impresses me that someone put morals in there. Somebody was being very wise in that moment. Somebody was looking into the future. Perhaps God gave us this provision to protect his land because we all know Hood County is God's country. And then it lists a number of things that this commissioner's court can do to regulate those data centers. Unfeasible. Done. And I don't believe we even need to make a controversial decision since not a single person on this side of the microphone wants them. And as a Christian, I don't believe we should be prioritizing end-of-days technology over beauty, nature, and living souls. Thank you.
The next speaker is Kirk Keskey.
Thank you, Judge Massengale and Commissioners Court. It's going to be hard to follow. those comments that were just made, but I want to thank you for the opportunity. My name is Kirk Teskey. My wife and I live at 5278 County Road 1008. I had the opportunity to speak with you at the workshop a little over a month ago regarding the massive data centers and power plants that are planned in this county. As I mentioned then, I'm an architect. I have executive oversight over roughly $6 billion of construction annually. As a result, I'm very well versed in real estate development. I'm very well versed in developers like Sailfish. These are men that hide behind non-disclosure agreements that are required by their big tech tenants. They use these NDAs to hide the facts because they know that you would not welcome them if you knew all of the facts. I encourage you to force them to be far more transparent. In fact, following the workshop, my wife and I spoke with Ryan Hughes with Sailfish, and he admitted to my wife and I that he would not want Comanche Peak Circle in his backyard, in his family's backyard. He admitted it. So with that, I would ask that you place a moratorium on data centers and power plants as soon as possible before this precious county gets turned into a back alley corridor for West Coast technology companies. All of these companies are based, the tenants are all based in California and Washington State. Place a moratorium before an inexperienced, out-of-state, limited liability company like Sailfish and its West Coast tenants turn some of the most beautiful parts of our state into what we call in the industry a sacrifice zone. Contrary to what I've heard some say, you do have more control than what you might think. These developers have factored in tax abatements into their financial performance. Without tax abatements, these projects are not nearly as lucrative to their investors that back these developments. So to be clear, I ask you to approve no tax abatements for limited liability companies like Sailfish, West Coast technology companies, or power plant companies like NRG. Deny tax abatements and let some other area become the sacrifice zone. On the topic of water, I ask that you demand that TCEQ conduct impact studies on our water quantity and quality that includes the aggregate impact of all the data centers and power plants planned for Hood and Somervell counties. Our region's water boards should not approve water access until these studies are complete. On the topic of air quality, I encourage you to require TCEQ conduct cumulative emission burdens in this area, including the existing power plants, the approved power plants, and the future power plants, like the 3 that are proposed by NRG and Sailfish. They've only told you about 1, but they have admitted to the Somervell County Water Board that they will need 3 power plants of equal size in order to power what they're planning to build. We already have more of our share of polluting power plants in this region than we need. So in closing, I encourage you to create a grander vision for the future of this precious county. A vision that executes on the intent given to you by the state under Subchapter K of the Local Government Code. Create a vision for the future that preserves the beauty of this Northern Hill Country, a vision that encourages development that increases property value versus decreases it, and enhances the lives of the citizens in this community versus polluting their air and draining their water. In short, a vision that looks after the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of this great county. So I thank you for your attention. I care about this community. I appreciate the opportunity to share these recommendations with you. I also encourage everyone to check out protectbiloxi.com and the fundraiser that they are holding down the street at the Brazos Drive-In this coming Saturday night. Thank you.
Next speaker is Eric Amadio.
Well, I'm definitely not going to be able to follow those two. So I'm a lot less prepared than I was last time. I wasn't planning on speaking this morning. Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. I'd like to start just with a piece of scripture, Proverbs chapter 3, 27 through 29. Do not withhold good from those who deserve it when it's in your power to help them. If you can help your neighbor now, don't say, come back tomorrow and then I'll help you. Don't plot harm against your neighbor, for those who live nearby trust you. Judge, Commissioners, I do not envy your positions. I've gotten a chance to know Commissioner Samuelson over the last month, and I can attest to how heavy this data center situation is sitting on her heart in the same way that it's sitting on mine and almost every other concerned citizen in this room. And we're at a crossroads. It's an inflection point in Hood County. And you five right here are the ones holding the pen, deciding where the story goes next. The rest of us, all we can do is hope and encourage you and pray that the Lord petitions your heart to do the right thing for our community. These data centers, the power companies, they have only one concern, and that's profit. I've been able to spend some time with Kevin Pratt from Pacifico, the COO, and my takeaway after getting to know the man is he's a good man who loves his family. That said, Mr. Pratt is not building the power plant directly across the river from his own home. And I'd imagine that's for the very reason all of us in Pecan don't want it either. And ultimately, what we're talking about is being a good neighbor. We, the people in Pecan, I'm speaking just for us, it's a very quiet community. And there's many people in there, their whole lives are invested in their homes. And, you know, one of the biggest fears is people's property values just going in the dirt. And, you know, one of the things I talked to Commissioner Samuelson about is, if this ends up getting pushed through, how do we guarantee these people that their life savings aren't going to go away? And I think that's something that we all have to really, really think about. I think there's, you know, I can't really cover all the different potential threats that these things represent, but I think, you know, Matt Long spoke on it very eloquently. There's a lot of different components here. Ultimately, what Mr. Kirk had said is, do we want to become the sacrificial lamb for these data centers? I can tell you, as someone who escaped California and kind of like a refugee getting out of there because of all the craziness, we do not want to invite that into our county. And these companies that are coming here, they do not care about our community. Whether or not they're good people at heart, they're business people and they have a job to do. And so I would really encourage all of us to look deep inside and pray about it and ask ourselves, do we like Hood County right now? I think we all do because we live here. It's going to change dramatically and not for the better. And, you know, I'm God willing, this is a place I want to raise my kids, my grandkids, my great-grandkids. I don't ever want to move again. I don't ever want to be pushed out again. Being pushed out of your home is not a good feeling. I'm born and raised in Southeast Los Angeles. I survived the Crips and Bloods wars, the crack wars, and I stuck around. I was there until COVID hit and all the craziness happened. And with all the policies and all the just wackiness that's going on in California, it was finally enough for me to be able to just say, all right, I'm leaving. I give up. I'm not someone who surrenders. I was born a fighter.
The fact that I had to leave my home because of the craziness around me, that is not something I'd wish on my worst enemy. And I'll tell you what, if this place becomes the sacrificial zone, I'm not going to have a choice. We're going to have to leave again. And I don't want that for me. I don't want that for anyone in this room. I think people love our community, and we want to continue building it in the right direction. And so I just would petition all you. I think that the tax abatement thing is something that's going to be a big deal for these companies, and will determine whether or not they want to develop in Hood County. I pray that y'all see that we cannot give them the money to do this. Just please deny that tax abatement from the bottom of my heart. I thank you for your time. I thank all these people for showing up. God bless everyone. Thank you.
The next speaker is Mitch Moore.
Thank you all for the time. I'm Mitch Moore. I'm a resident and business owner of Hood County. I was born here and continue to choose to live here every day. I live a stone's throw away from the proposed Comanche Circle data center complex and work immediately adjacent to the proposed Pacifico data center site. I hate to be a NIMBY, and for those that don't know, that stands for not in my backyard. But I believe there are many questions surrounding these proposals that leave cause for concern. From what I can tell, there don't appear to be many, if any, of these closed-loop data centers fully complete and operational at the scale that is proposed. How good are these numbers that we are seeing today? And in regard to the Comanche Circle complex, I'm hearing likelihoods of water withdrawal rates exceeding 1 million gallons per day. How will this affect the numerous households in the area? This withdrawal rate over that footprint would be similar to placing 4,000 homes on the 2,600 acres that exists, just for a gauge. Another question, with the speed at which technology changes, how can we be sure that these centers wouldn't be nearing obsolescence by the time of completion? And what I mean by this is, not that they will be inoperable, but they'll be incredibly inefficient and more taxing on our resources than what will exist even 5 years from now. Is this an indelible mark that we want to leave on our community? What is the gain that the community will see from the installation of these structures? Construction expenditures don't necessarily mean significant added revenues for our tax base. Many companies travel to these jobs. They're not paying county property taxes in large part, and the numbers of jobs proposed for these long-term facilities are small and inconsistent. What gain is there for the public and the county in regard to these data centers if they don't provide many long-term jobs for the residents thereof? I don't know what I am missing, but this seems to be a poor deal for the county and the residents. What does the county and public gain from a tax abatement for these data centers? Thank you for the time.
Next speaker is Jimmy Duckworth. Jimmy Duckworth. Okay. Brian Crawford.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this morning. My name is Brian Crawford. My wife and I reside at 4541 County Road 1008 in Glen Rose. Regarding the data center and power plant issue, I would like to emphasize a few key points and ask this Commissioners Court to take them under very serious consideration. I would like to first point out the obvious. The influx of data centers and their associated power production is a very prickly topic in this county, as well as Somervell County, where I live. If this is not obvious now, I do predict that it will become painfully clear come re-election time. The fact that this is such a contentious and controversial issue with many very serious known and unknown pitfalls, I strongly urge this Commissioners Court to call for a moratorium on all data center and power plant projects until further studies can be conducted on the full and cumulative impact of these projects. In addition to understanding the full impact, a moratorium would give the county an opportunity to adopt a meaningful implementation of Subchapter K to proactively deal with these development projects, not react to them. The county must understand the overall and lasting impacts of these projects on the community. As elected officials, you have a responsibility to protect the health, welfare, and well-being of citizens, and it would be irresponsible for this court not to conduct serious studies on the impacts of these projects before recklessly paving the way for them. First, this court must demand studies on the cumulative impact of massive water consumption as well as the impact of runoff water from system flushing. These data centers and power plants consume huge amounts of surface and groundwater, and when flushed, what contaminants will it contain? The runoff into the watershed flows into many of our properties and into the Paluxy River. Second, studies must be conducted on the cumulative air emissions. The area is currently just barely considered attainment. This will certainly change to non-attainment with the addition of recently approved power plants, not to mention power plants under review like the NRG Toller Power Center. Does this Commissioners Court want to be known for allowing this area to become non-compliant with national air quality standards? The Commissioners Court should engage with TCEQ and demand a closer evaluation of the cumulative effects on our community. Third, considering the high-profile nature of this topic, I urge the Commissioners Court to conduct this business with full transparency. No more closed sessions, but instead conduct hearings where subject matter experts can debate real, not contrived study results which will lead to informed decisions, not biased ones. Fourth, I urge the court to entertain no tax abatements for these developers, their partners, or their potential tenants. These developers depend on tax abatements to make their project profitable. And lastly, I implore this Commissioners Court to consider the consequences of not conducting your due diligence on these matters. You have at your disposal the means to stop or at minimum control these projects. Failing to do so will be to the detriment of your constituents and the community. No doubt there will be legal appeals for restitution of lost property values due to the negative impacts of these projects. Failing to utilize the tools at your disposal could leave this court liable. Thank you.
The next speaker is Brian Glenn.
Well, I don't mean to repeat what's been said, but I actually presented this on the 12th of November to this court. It will show up in the minutes eventually, I assume, but I wanted to revisit it here so we didn't forget. I think a lot of people had the same idea. So good morning, Commissioners. My name is Brian Glenn, and I'm speaking on the behalf of residents who will be affected by the further industrialization of Hood County. In 1999, 26 years ago, Texas legislature granted the court specific power to regulate development in the unincorporated areas of the Brazos River and Lake Granbury Basin. The legislature did this to protect the areas, to protect the public health, and safety, encourage recreation, and prevent pollution of our rivers and lakes. This is right out of subsection K. Today, that purpose could not be more urgent. Hood County now has 3 gas plants operating, a 4th being built right now at Wolf Hollow, a 5th plan for Toller right across this highway from my house, and a 6th proposed for Fort Spunky, directly on the Brazos River. Specific data and EPA modeling show that the maximum ground level dispersion of pollutants from stacks of gas plants occur within a radius of 5 to 10 miles, right over my head. Within that distance, pollutants such as nitrogen oxides, particulate matter, and volatile organic compounds settle back on the ground and into the Brazos River watershed runoff. Every rainfall event washes these contaminants directly towards the river system that this statute was designed to protect. Despite these realities, no cumulative air quality modeling, no receptor site testing, no stormwater or runoff studies have ever been conducted for Hood County that I know of. Each emission and drainage event ultimately impacts the river basin and people, residents living within it. Protecting this river basin and these people, your constituents who live, work, and raise families here. These residents are within the dispersion zone, drawing from the same water table and breathing the same air that's going to be affected by unregulated industrial expansion. Chapter 231, subchapter K, gives this court clear authority to act, and it empowers you to establish environmental protection districts to regulate drainage, runoff, and setbacks, and to impose higher standards than the state minimums when the public welfare demands it. I urge you today, with creation of this Hood County Development Commission, that you review and assess, that they review and assess this Brazos River Basin Environmental Protection Ordinance, which I proposed, and require air dispersion and runoff impact studies before approving any new industrial permits. When you protect the Brazos River Basin, you protect Hood County itself, the water, the air, and the people who depend on it. Respectfully, thank you for your time.
The next speaker is Lindsay Patterson.
Hello, Commissioner and judges. My name is Lindsay Patterson. I'm a resident of Pecan Plantation, where my husband and I live with our 4 beautiful children. We moved our family about 1.5 years ago from North Dallas. I will never forget that first week of adjusting because it was so dark and so very quiet at night. One early winter morning when it was still dark outside, we were up and out and the sky was clear. I looked up and what I saw quite literally took my breath away. I had never seen so many stars. It was one of those moments where I had to stop and just worship. God, you are so good and your work is so awesome and I am in awe of you. Where we came from, we didn't get that experience with the stars. When I had first heard of the data centers potentially moving in our backyard, my heart sank. I had read about the nightmare Mitchell Bend residents were experiencing and hated the thought of repeating this nightmare. To say I had a lack of peace over this potential decision is an understatement. I started having so many questions. What is this going to do to our neighborhood? Will our water be impacted? Will the quality decrease? Will the quantity and availability decrease? How will this affect the lake, especially during years of drought? Will the air we breathe be impacted? Has a comprehensive air study been done? Will the noise level affect my children? How will it affect my neighbors? Will we be able to sleep? Will we be able to go outside and explore without experiencing headaches or seizures? Will we get sick? Will this cause cancers unknown years later? What does this do to the value of our property? Will my elderly neighbors be able to sell when they need to get better care? Will we still be able to see those stars? There are too many questions and absolutely no guaranteed answers because they do not know. Granbury is a place of recreation. How special is that? How special that our community in Hood County can serve people, both visitors and residents, as a place of recreational refuge. I came here today to ask you to use the authority you have been given to protect our community from those big corporations coming in because we have what they want. It made my skin crawl when I heard a Pacifica representative talk about Granbury in this manner. We like what we see, he said, and offering fluff benefits. Like the great prostitute with her many persuasions to entice him, it only leads to destruction. This scarcity mindset does not serve, but instead, at the expense of thousands of people, it is at the expense of thousands of people. This mindset values power and money over people. I plead with you today to consider not participating in building the empire, but participate in building the kingdom. Build into people. Put their needs above the wants of a few and huge corporations. Please enforce subchapter K. Use what's been put into place to protect the health, safety, morals, peace, and well-being of the public. We do not want to negotiate with these companies. We want to deny access to the beautiful resources our county stewards. Please protect these resources and protect the residents of this special county. Thank you for your time.
The next speaker is Scott Morgan.
Good morning. My name is Scott Morgan, and my wife and my...
Could you pull the mic down, please?
I'm sorry?
Could you pull the mic down?
Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to choke up about that. My name is Scott Morgan. My wife and my two daughters live in Pecan Plantation. And I want to thank the judge and commissioner and everyone else allowing me to speak this morning. My concerns are directed toward the building of a large data centers and power plants in and around Pecan Plantation area. 3 years ago, my family and I moved to Texas into the rural Pecan Plantation area to leave the busy city life in Missouri. And we very much enjoy the beauty of God's wonderful nature and relaxing with friends and family. After seeing and now living in our peaceful Pecan Plantation area, we were very confident that we wouldn't be bothered with factory pollution, noisy factory production operations, or industrial land takeovers. But then we were discouraged hearing about the possibility of AI data centers being built not far from where we live. We are wanting not just a relaxing, peaceful place for ourselves. I'm sorry. Not just a peaceful place for ourselves, but also for our children, now and for their future. We found out there is now a large data center used for cryptocurrency mining near Wolf Hollow Generating Station in Granbury, Texas. And I heard that it is in operation day and night, and some have complained about its operation. To my understanding, these large data centers, as large as Walmart supercenters, which are planned for the future in our near Pecan area, would be using our water supply to recirculate cool water from the Brazos River to the large data collection units, which could cause contamination of the Brazos River, making it unhealthy for the fish, unhealthy for the land, unhealthy for our children to play in, and obviously unhealthy for our drinking water supply. I've heard that these large 24/7 operation facilities can be noisy day and night and possibly cause harmful physical side effects to residents, like hearing loss, headaches leading to mental and emotional distress. These AI data center facilities will greatly reduce our property values because our area will no longer be deemed as a recreational, peaceful residential area. However, we were very encouraged, though, when we found out that Hood County has a stipulation in place, Chapter 231, Subchapter K of the Texas Local Government Code, which states Hood County's watershed regulations. in which it allows Commissioners Court to regulate development, building size, lot coverage in unincorporated areas to protect recreation and public welfare in the watershed. We must all deeply consider the health and well-being of the land and the environment that our Father God has given us all. And we must consider the health, safety, and well-being of our fellow man. For Jesus Christ said in Galatians 5:14, love your neighbor as yourself. Thank you for listening to me. Appreciate it.
Next speaker is Jim Bell.
Is this working out all right? Thank you for letting me speak. I got a big information dump last night after I went to bed, so most of this stuff aren't really my words. But before I get into that, we've been experiencing a whole bunch of sidestepping as we look into this water issue. For one thing, I don't think we can trust the TCEQ. They're not following their mandate. They're supposed to be mandated to protect our air and water quality. And they've turned themselves into a permit agency. They're not issuing permits to operate. They're issuing permits to pollute. The outfit at Wolf Hollow applied for a permit to exceed allowable pollution limits in the air, and it was granted. So many of us feel like we're up against it here. And there's not 5 commissioners that are facing this right now. From where I sit, there's 10. I was at Glen Rose on Sunday. They have their own commission. They're facing the same issue over and over again. And the mayor of Glen Rose said there are towns that want these data centers in there. I don't think he could be more wrong. I think he's way off base on that. I haven't met anyone who's in the majority in any community that I've been to. Not Toller, not Bluffdale, not Granbury, Pecan, who favors this. So this guy from Sailfish, I met him at the workshop a while back. He seemed like a pretty good glad-hander, you know. He was polite, well-mannered, and everything like that. But I got this feeling that I just can't trust this guy. So last night, I got a big information dump. I want to read it to you. These are not my words. Beware of man selling snake oil. The site is designed for multiple 500 megawatt AI data centers. Current state-of-the-art AI cabinets pull 40 kilowatts each. Future AI development points to 60 plus kilowatts per cabinet. That's why the liquid cooling in each cabinet, he is underrepresenting the volume, purity, and loss of water. He says it's closed loop with a 10 to 15% loss. That would only be a 20 plus kilowatt cabinet, less than half of what they're currently doing. He's selling double that with a design capable of supporting triple power that number. I think we should be careful that we're not going to step into quicksand, open our arms for these data centers.
The next speaker is Gary Foreman.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. This presentation is going to be brief, but I want to tell you I am riding on the shoulders of those who just came before me. So although that, I want to add some new perspectives if possible. First of all, my background is varied. I've been in media for many, many years. I know all about how technology evolves. And we better pay attention to it. And I'll get into that in a second. But I have to look back and I have to say to all of us, Americans and Texans, we are all under siege, mind and body. We face geoengineering, chemtrails from above. We face GMO factory foods in stores. And we also have 5G networks with very high EMF counts. And that's very concerning, and nobody wants to, go into that water. But the other thing is, my wife and I live here in Granbury, and when we first moved here, we were very excited about what the potential is. But I see that we're going back to old habits about how we plan and develop. For instance, what are the two most important things when you arrive at your place of being? And from the pioneer days and this nation began, it was two things, soil and water. Let's talk about those. I'm appalled by whatever planning commissions we have through the city or the county that allows us to scrape off every ounce of soil we have and then plot down our properties. That's a crime. Do you know how long it takes for 1 inch of soil to evolve through time? A century. On an average, it takes a century for 1 inch of soil to evolve on our place. That means most of the soil we're scraping away has been here before Columbus, and we're eradicating it. Water is even worse. I just found out this morning our water capacity in the state of Texas right now, as of this date, is at 74%. The other thing we have to remember as we get into this discussion of these fine presentations I just heard, that Americans rank towards the bottom of health in the world. You know where we rank right now for modern civilization? Does anyone have an idea? Guess what? 38th. We rank 38th, and we spend more money per capita than anybody else in the world. Something is wrong with this investment. Something is wrong with our projection to the future. The other thing is that the technology is changing. Now, I've been in media, as I told you, for decades. When I first got into the business, cameras were so huge, all right? I mean, and they cost so much. In fact, a lot of my cameramen had to take out a mortgage to pay for all the equipment, and they were huge. They're gone. Cell phones, mobile phones. How many of you ever remember the first mobile phone? They're like carrying around a huge brick, right? Now you all have them in your pockets. We are also in technology. We have to stand back and take a look. Nikola Tesla told us years ago, a century ago, we are entering the age potentially of 0-point energy. 0-point energy means everything is going to change. We are now, ladies and gentlemen, in the era of resets, of self-discovery. And we better stand back and see the big picture, because what our other speakers said today is absolutely correct. Beware of technology. What does AI stand for? What's the first word? Artificial. The second is, which amazes me, since it's artificial, how can it be intelligent? Now, if you take a look at what's happening, and it's right in front of our eyes, everything about technology is changing at a quantum speed. Please understand, stand back at the 40,000 level and look down. One other thing, we are now approaching the 250th anniversary of our independence. One of the things our founders said to us about protecting those millions yet to come. Let's do it. Thank you.
The next speaker is Greg Harrell.
Morning, Judge, Commissioners. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I came to address a couple of other issues, and I will address those issues before I get done. But I do want to acknowledge these speakers that have really so eloquently developed their case in regards to the issues here in Hood County with data centers. A few weeks ago, as I've told you before, a few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to go on a field trip with a couple of the commissioners here on this court. And so we went over to Taylor County and we took a look at the so-called Stargate, some people call it the Lancium project that's being built over there near Abilene. And I have to tell you, and as I've related this to you before, what we saw was absolutely devastating. The people that have stood at this podium this morning and talked about the fact that they can no longer, that their desire is to be able to see the stars. The Taylor County Sheriff, Ricky Bishop, and his chief deputy were our host during the tour of the Lancium project in Abilene. And one of the things that they related, it was almost like a biblical lamentation. They lamented over the fact that they could no longer see the stars in Taylor County, deep in the heart of Texas, because of the construction lights and the lighting that surrounds that massive project. The other thing, and I want to acknowledge Mr. Long's biblical approach to the issue with data centers, and that is they related to us that there were two massive infusions of capital into the Lancium project. Very recently, those two infusions of capital came from Saudi Arabia. So we have a huge concern about how these data centers are being located in Texas, who are funding these data centers, and really why are these data centers being located here? And I can tell you the answer. The answer is because Texas, because we love our freedoms, is a wide open spot. We have very little legislation. We have very little restrictions. These data centers are flooding the state. And thank God that we do have a tool in terms of the local government code, Chapter 231, Subchapter K, that you all can deploy against these data centers if you so choose. So I just want to acknowledge that we need to slow the train down, no pun intended, given my prior employment. So I'm going to pivot a little bit, and I want to give you a good report from the Hood County Republican Party. Last night at 6 p.m., we ended the primary candidate application process at the Hood County Republican Party office at 6 p.m. sharp. I have to tell you, and this is a promise kept, because when I was running for Hood County Chair, I promised you that that process would go well and go smoothly, and we executed that flawlessly. There were no problems. As a matter of fact, some of the candidates that I would consider even in opposition to myself stood up from around the table, reached over, shook my hand, and thanked me for the professionalism that was shown during the application process. So I bring you a good report, Commissioners, Judge, from that. I also want to take a little bit of time to tell you all about an event that will take place that the Hood County Republican Party is promoting this coming Saturday at 11 a.m. People will gather at the Acton Cemetery and lay 507 wreaths at the graves of the veterans that are buried in the Acton Cemetery. 11 a.m. There are 507 wreaths that will be placed on those graves of those veterans. And so I invite all of you to come and participate in that project. So related to these two items, I just want to say this. In both regards to protecting our ability to execute our Republican responsibilities through the vote and acknowledging the fact that there are 507 veterans buried at the Acton Cemetery who will be honored this weekend, I just want to say that I believe that Hood County ought to do everything that we can do to return to the constitutional principles that we all love and that we know that we love here in Hood County. I would encourage you as a commissioner's court to make sure that we are protecting the rights of every individual, the rights of people that not only vote, but people that have fought and have served in the armed forces of the United States and died for those constitutional rights. Thank you.
The next speaker is Mary Jo Bloomquist.
Good morning. I've been a resident of Hood County for about 9.5 years.
Ms. Bloomquist, could you pull the microphone down?
It's way up there. 2 weeks. 2 weeks is all it took for TCEQ to rubber stamp the Pacifico Energy Partners air permit for Fort Spunky. It was permitted in the wrong county. Nobody noticed. With 0 public notice and 0 public hearings. I'm furious that this California company wants to drop a massive natural gas plant and a private data center right on the banks of the Brazos River. They want to pull more than 100,000 gallons of water every day straight from Lake Granbury. That's per Kevin Pratt. And then they claim the facility is off-grid. But they intend to run a high-voltage transmission line from Fort Spunky to Abbey Bend and tap into Brazos Electric Co-op's electricity and receive backup power when their gas plant can't keep up. We get all the pollution, and they get all the taxpayer-funded safety net. They also tune their emissions to 246 tons of carbon monoxide per year, just under, or just 4 tons under the 250-ton threshold to issue a standard permit without review. They gamed the system so TCEQ would waive their permit through without us getting a word in. 0. Nobody even knew about it. The plant will spew 246 tons of carbon monoxide plus benzene, formaldehyde, and methane, among others, into our air that's already marginal at best. Per Kevin Pratt, they will store their wastewater in retention ponds. A spill or leak isn't just a possibility, it's guaranteed. Once the Brazos River is polluted, there's no bringing it back. No fine will change that. Families will lose 10 to 20% of their property values overnight, stuck with constant noise and endless light from this facility that never sleeps. All for what? Their own application states that they'll only offer 20 to 100 permanent jobs. 20 to 100 permanent jobs. That's not economic development. That's selling out our health and our future for pocket change. But Hood County isn't powerless. Local Government Code, Title 7, Subtitle B, Chapter 231, gives this commission clear zoning authority to protect the Brazos River and Lake Granbury from exactly this kind of reckless threat. Commissioners, TCEQ gamed the rules and sold us out in record time. Don't do the same. Reject this project. Protect our river, protect our lake, protect our air, and protect the people that actually live here, the people that elected you. Thank you.
The next next speaker is Leandra Lowen.
Thank you for this opportunity. I am coming as a visitor from Canada, where I live in northern Alberta, where we have planned in our community the largest data center of the world is being planned for our backyard. So I am keenly interested as I've come to visit my daughter, who lives in Pecan Plantation, and her husband and their beautiful 9 children. So that is where I'm coming from. Both sets of my grandparents were US citizens, and then one set of my parents, I'm just going to give a little family history because I feel like on these big issues, sometimes if we stand back and just maybe even review our own histories, it helps us with planning our futures. And so just to say that my one set of grandparents, they immigrated from North Dakota to Alberta, where my grandfather at the age of 18 was promised a homestead for $10, 160 acres. And so he went north and he took out those claims for himself, his 3 brothers, and his father. He particularly looked at the land and the water supply. And so he built his cabin on a creek. And just to say that that 160 acres has multiplied over the decades. It's now a 3,000 acre farm, multi-million-dollar farm that my cousin continues to farm. It's also split into another cattle operation, as well as they've got another farm that they purchased. It has multiplied over the decades. And what I want to say is that the government allowing those $10 acreages influenced generations of my family, and just given opportunity, they multiplied those things. And I sort of think of that Bible story, you know, where talents are given, 5 talents or 2 talents, and what did you do with them? As I look at my family, I feel like that opportunity for them to come north and to farm multiplied into many things. And so I look over my family. My grandmother raised 10 children on that farm, and her sons and daughters became politicians, mayors, Chamber of Commerce leaders. My uncles founded a John Deere dealership that became the most successful dealership in the world for many years. For fun, my uncle became the hot air balloon champion of the world. My father was an ophthalmologist, and he pioneered the IOL cataract surgery whatever you call it. Anyways, just different things that family did. And now here in Texas, I see my son-in-law, Matt. He is a 5th generation Texan, and now his children are 6th generation Texans. And I'm looking, and as I visit this country, I'm so impressed with your liberty and your drive for freedom that's here. Your churches, your businesses, they're just amazing. And I would love to see that continued. I feel like for myself, I am a behind-the-scenes person. I was a nurse, but I set that aside to raise my 7 children. And I see my daughter now setting aside her career as a teacher and raising her 9 children. And I so want them to have the opportunity to be protected by you folks, you commissioners and judges, that you are going to provide the structure, you're going to provide the protection to our coming generations. And I'm asking for that. I hope to come and visit. might even be a potential plantation, pecan plantation owner someday. But I will be influenced by, if there's a data center in my backyard. So thank you.
The next speaker is Gordon Kohler.
Thank you. My name is Gordon Lowen. I am not a Texan, but we come from what might be considered the Texas state of the North, Alberta. Many things in common: oil, cattle, freedom. One of the things that we're struggling with in Alberta right now is, again, the creation of a very large data center in our backyard, among other things, but it's deeper than that. When we have an election in Canada, half of the Albertans don't vote because the election is determined before they even start counting our votes, because Canada is so wide. The choice, we do not have the choice, and we always vote differently than what happens in Eastern Canada. So now we're talking about separation, yay, and possibly the 51st state, as they say. So there's some exciting things in the wind, but to get to the point of it is that it's our choice that's being threatened. And I feel that after looking into the general idea of AI data centers, it's not about money. It's about control. It's much deeper than money. They have money. People can print money. That it means nothing. But the ability for a human being and for myself, my family, for your families to make a choice that is a free choice that I believe is given by God. Choose you this day whom you will serve, the Bible says. Well, I believe there is a nefarious purpose to these data centers. I am in education. We have staff meetings, and in our staff meetings, we talk about how children are being affected by these kind of things, and the amount of time they spend in screens, and how the brain does not develop properly in children. And so now we're creating data centers to improve, our access to even more data, more electronic influence in the mind, which, in my opinion, from stepping back, saying that actually removes not only my brain, but my choice to develop as a human being in my children. So now there's a whole movement away from that kind of influence in the classrooms and get back to paper and pencil, because that's how the brain actually develops. Well, what is the purpose of an AI data center? It's to collect information. Why do we need this information? Who's collecting information? For what purpose? I've really had to stop and think about this. Why do we need data centers? It's because every time you go on your phone, information is being collected. And that information is going somewhere. It's not going to you. Somebody is planning or using that information to control you. That's the bottom line. It's about control. So why are we just throwing out the red carpet for data centers all over? And this is just the beginning. Alberta is going to see an explosion of data centers, along with what's happening in Texas. So I don't know. I've just come to the resolution. At first, I was pretty neutral. Okay, this is the way the world goes. We build things like this. And no, I don't buy it. What I'm passing on to my kids is so important. Now, what are they going to say? We're going to stand before God. God's going to have his say in the end. Psalm 2 says, why do the peoples rage and imagine a vain thing? but the Lord sits in heaven and he laughs. And so the Lord will have his day, his grand court we will stand before one day. And he will say, okay, I gave you the opportunity. You knew what I was about, that I am in charge, but I gave you some time to sort it out down there. How did you do? Well, we caved, actually. So I would encourage us today in this fine court to take that seriously, as we in Alberta are having to grapple with similar things. And I would like to visit my grandchildren here in Pecan Plantation for the years to come. Maybe we'll relocate as we get older. So thank you for your time.
Okay, that concludes the open comments here. And so we now go into the first agenda item. Is there four more? Oh, okay. Oh, I see. You're right. Sorry. The next speaker is Rhonda Reed. Ms. Reed, Rhonda Reed. Okay, the next speaker is Mark Lowry.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. My name's Mark Lowry. I live at 3712 Lonesome Creek Road in Granbury, Texas. I've got two items I want to speak on. And first, I want to thank you for allowing all these courageous people to come in and speak. It does take courage to come here and speak in front of this esteemed Commissioner's Court. And I think by looking at this group out here, you see there is quite a passion for what our county is going to in the future. I've attended 5 or 6 of these community meetings, and I want to thank Commissioner Samuelson and Commissioner Eagle. I have seen them there because they're truly trying to learn what's going on in our community and our community's concerns. Your legacy, but equally so our legacy. The voters of Hood County voted you into office, so our legacy is going to be what happens here in this county today for 20, 30, 40 years ahead. We do not know environmentally what this stuff is doing to us. And until we do, we need to, as others have said, a moratorium. We need to do some research and figure it out before we give our land away. I don't know why my generation thinks we have to fill up every square inch of our pristine land. It makes no sense to me. So I pray and I hope that this Commissioner's Court sees the wisdom behind what your constituents, your citizens are saying, and do a moratorium. I want an environmentalist expert on that commission, on that development commission. Our predecessors had wisdom to see that they needed to establish that. We just now are getting to it. But the reason I came here today is Ruby McPeters. Has anybody on this Commissioner's Court read the autopsy report or the Texas Rangers investigative report on Mr. Clayton's sister in Christ that died? Has anybody read that investigative report from the Texas Ranger, the autopsy report? I was at the hospital district meeting last month when he first spoke and brought that to my attention. I did some research. I've read the investigative report from the Texas Rangers. It's haunting. It's haunting. I've read the autopsy report. Now, I'm not a medical technician, but I can certainly understand there were mistakes made along the way. I don't know why the district attorney shut that down. They say it's 100% fatal. I've talked to 2 medical professionals, one an ER over 20 years, and said that is not 100% fatal. They shut the investigation down. I encourage each and every one of you to read that investigative report from the Texas Rangers. I asked the sheriff, if he hasn't read it, he needs to read it. It's very telling on the errors and the conflict from statements being made by jailers and nurses within our Hood County jail that mistakes were made. This lady lost her life after having a C-section performed on her, removed back to the jail, sat there for a couple days before finally they took her back to the ER where she perished. Again, we've got problems there. I asked this commissioner's court to read it, to reopen that investigation. If the DA doesn't want to do anything, then at least let's have an internal review and make sure the people that made mistakes are corrected and we don't make those mistakes going forward in the future. Mr. Clayton spoke very early on, and I heard him at the hospital district, very passionate. He's hurt over this. And this county has not done anything to look into this matter as far as I can see. I did read the Texas Rangers report. It's quite telling. So we have an opportunity to change. We have an opportunity to save lives in the future. But if we don't take the wisdom inside this report and follow up with it, we will repeat ourselves. Thank you.
Next speaker is Beck McInnes on Pinehurst. Okay, thank you. The next speaker is Dominique Inge.
Good morning, Judge Massengill, Commissioners. My name for the record is Dominique Inge. I'm a very proud Hood County resident, and my home is located exactly 1.5 blocks southeast of the county courthouse. Thankfully, my residence is far enough away from the proposed data centers that I would not feel its immediate effects, but I'm here to join my voice with the people here who are trying to protest this sinister possibility. And I hope that you will vote no for any aspect of having this data center or centers to be in this county, and that your vote against this will be a lesson and a complete model to others that this is not wanted or needed in Hood County. Please, I beseech you to listen to these people and vote against having anything like this in our county. As our legal guardians, we count on you to protect the welfare of these people. Thank you.
Is that all of them now, Christine? Okay. Thank all of you. All right, now we go to the first agenda item. Discuss and take appropriate action to... You want to pull it? Okay, we're pulling item 1. All right, so item 2. Consider and take appropriate action to approve the interlocal cooperative agreement between Hood County and the Texas Department of Public Safety pursuant to the authority granted in Texas Transportation Code 521.009 and Texas Government Code Chapter 791. Yes, sir.
This is a continuation of the current driver's license office operation that's under the tax assessor's control. The DPS has, instead of a 2-year, they've given us a contract amendment for 5-year period beginning January 1 of 2026 through December 31 of 2031. And this, we've also added a clause in there regarding the cybersecurity into the contract. So, that has been addressed. We're ready to go forward with that because this is a service that we provide, we the county provide to the citizens of Hood County.
And so with that, I will make a motion that we approve the, go ahead.
We got a speaker.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
You wish.
No, I was just here for the documentation of anything that y'all might want to have or anything of how many people we've seen, how many people we've covered, and how good the county has a real working relationship with the DPS. And we even have people that are in the military calling us and trying to get information. We have other counties calling us for information because DPS don't have phones in their office, so they call all the DMV offices for information. And we have 5 people, multiple, trained to assist all the customers over there as well.
Okay.
That's
so-
it.
All right. Any further other discussion? All right. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Ms.
Okay, with that, I'll make a motion that we approve the Texas DPS contract amendment to approve the interlocal cooperative agreement between Hood County and Texas Department of Public Safety pursuant to the authority granted the Texas Transportation Code 521.009 and Texas Government Code Chapter 791 for the 5-year period as stated in the contract amendment.
Second. Wilson to take appropriate action to approve the interlocal cooperative agreement between Hood County and the Texas Department of Public Safety as stated by Commissioner Wilson, second by Commissioner Eagle. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Ferguson. Okay, item number 3, discuss and take appropriate action to provide 10 vouchers for the Citizens Collection Station to facilitate community cleanup in Brazos River Acres and neighborhoods along Membrano Highway and Hayworth Highway to expire on 9/30/2026. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Constable Shirley had contacted me and asked that we do another set of vouchers. I believe this will be the 3rd set we have done. And Constable Shirley is the one that ensures they get handed to the correct people in this area. And they bring them to the collection station, and this aids in the community cleanups.
Okay. Anybody else have anything? Do I hear a motion?
Yes, I move that we provide 10 vouchers for the Citizens Collection Stations to facilitate community cleanup of the Brazos River Acres and neighboring neighborhoods along Membrano Highway and Hayworth Highway to expire 9/30/2026.
It's been made by Commissioner Samuelson to provide 10 vouchers for the Citizens Collection Station to facilitate cleanup as stated, second by Commissioner Andrews. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously 5-0. Thank you, ma'am. Next, authorize the county judge to execute as authorized agent for Hood County a letter permitting a designated representative to perform OSFF activities outside Hood County. Yes, ma'am, that's from your department, right?
Yes.
Please explain what you're talking about.
I have the last employee I hired, Nicholas Castaneda. He holds multiple TCQ license. He's still getting license. He pays for the classes. He obtains the licenses. He would not be able to perform duties other than DR in Hood County. But this allows if he wanted to work on weekends or after hours in the summer in Johnson County, which is where he resides, that he would be able to do so. And as you can see in the memorandum that we worked up, it does have the state laws. In those state laws, it says the authorized agent of the county is required to sign this agreement, and that is our county judge. And I was advised to bring it and have the court allow the judge to sign this.
Any further discussion? I hear a motion.
I move that we authorize the county judge to execute an authorized agent for Hood County letter permitting a designated representative to perform OSSF activities outside of Hood County.
Second.
Wilson to authorize the county judge to act as the authorized agent for Hood County, a letter permitting the designated representative to perform OSF activities outside of Hood County, second by Commissioner Andrews. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously 5-0. Next item, item 5, discuss and take appropriate action to authorize the county attorney to enter into discussions and negotiations with the city of Granbury for the county to have full and unrestricted access to the Granbury Regional Radio Network, or for the county to purchase the Granbury Regional Network from the city in accordance with the review by Avistas, initial, quote, as is evaluation of the radio system strategy for Hood County, Texas, dated November the 17th, 2025, may convene into executive session per Government Code 551.0725. Commissioner Wilson.
Okay, this, as was stated, the Vista report specifically says that we, the county, carry the personnel mission-critical radio system responsibilities without having the authority to maintain proactive administrative posture for the entire radio system infrastructure. And as this report, dictates, or states rather, that we, the county, should be in a position to, work with the city, which they have not been allowing us to do, to have unrestricted access into the network, to, because we're the ones that have to do the bulk of the service on that. And based on the mission critical operational plan, we either renegotiate the existing interlocal agreement or overlay an independent Hood County radio system solution under direct configuration, command and control of Hood County personnel. And do we have any speakers on that?
No.
Okay.
Well, let me chip in here. This relationship here recently has improved dramatically, and I think that it's moving in a positive direction. I would like to see that continue, and don't necessarily want this to seem adversarial, but just to go into the city of Granbury, and as a further continuation of what we're doing here, what do we do to make this thing work better for all parties? I think that we definitely have to have access to this system. There are too many. Our part of this is too big.
Until this point, they have not allowed us to have that access.
Right, and that's yes, I understand, and that's I'm saying yes. This is something that we need to do. That we need to look at getting that access to get onto the system the way that we need to do it. So this doesn't necessarily have to be an adversarial thing. I think that this is just a work in continuing cooperation with the city of Granbury is where I wanted to leave this kind of in tone, is that this is a step toward that direction. There are many steps on this Avistas report that, it wasn't real clear if it was do this one first, then this one, then this one, or more just these are several things that we need to be working on. These are different steps that we need to take. So I think there are a lot of other things that need to happen with this network still, but I think this is just another arrow in the quiver that we can work toward that.
I'll chime in with that, and I said that we do need to have additional discussions with the city to have the ability to monitor the network. This was pointed out in the as-is document from Avistas, especially since no matter which road we go, based on the multiple steps on the how do we get from as-is to what's called 2B, what will we be in the future, we still have at least 18 to 24 months where we will be partners with the city of Granbury. We need to improve the working relationship, which I think we're going down that path to do. The monthly meetings that are now occurring are a step in the right direction, and there just needs to be additional transparency to protect the emergency services that Hood County is responsible for. So I think I'm agreeing with you that we need to continue to work with the city of Granbury, and so that our emergency management team can do their jobs and protect the citizens of Hood County.
Any further discussion? If not, do I hear a motion?
I move that we authorize the county attorney to enter into discussions and / negotiations with the city of Granbury for the county to have full and unrestricted access to the Granbury Regional Radio Network, or for the county to enter a purchase agreement for the GRRN from the city in accordance with the review from Avesta's initial as-is evaluation of the radio system strategy for Hood County, Texas, dated November 17th, 2025.
Well, can I say something else? So I think this is really two parts. I do agree that we need to have additional discussions. I don't think that we're at the point where we need to ask the county attorney to look into a buy-build decision. According to this plan, the work plan, the buy-build decision is step 5 of this is online if anybody wants to go look at it. It was attached to the agenda from our last court, and it's very comprehensive. The work plan is laid out with work stream, purpose, key activities, and deliverables. And as you can see, there's lots of deliverables under each step, and the buy versus build decision isn't until step 5. I don't think that we're there yet. I think we have a lot of work to do. There's another agenda item later on that talks about setting up an advisory board to help us through this process of figuring out, as the consultant said, we need to determine what our to-be solution looks like. And they said that the system, the GRRN that was developed, is very, very good for a city, but it wasn't built for a county regional network. So I'm not sure why we would want to purchase a system that they've already said doesn't fit our needs. So I would politely suggest that we break this into 2 parts and have the county attorney do the first part, and then
Make an amendment to my motion to authorize the county attorney to enter into discussions and negotiations with the city of Granbury for the county to have full and unrestricted access to the Granbury Regional Radio Network.
Second.
Made by Commissioner Wilson to authorize the county attorney to enter discussions with the city of Granbury to have full and unrestricted access to the Granbury Regional Radio Network. Second by Commissioner Samuelson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously 5-0. Item number 6, discuss and take appropriate action to authorize the annual draw in the amount of $5,000 for the Brazos Valley Soil and Water Conservation District number 557 to be used in the maintenance of the 2 flood control dam locations in Hood County, Paluxy River Site 16 and Ruckers Creek Site 1. Funds to be allocated from contingency.
Well, there's one change, change the word from contingency to road ops account number 050-651 or 6150-41001. That is in the budget specifically for this endeavor.
Yes, it's something we do every year. It's something very important. Do I have any discussion? Do I hear a motion?
Yes, I move that we authorize the annual draw in the amount of $5,000 for the Brazos Valley Soil and Water Conservation District 557 to be used in the maintenance of the 2 flood control dam locations in Hood County, Paluxy River Site 16 and Ruckers Creek Site 1. Funds be allocated from Road Ops 050-651 or 6150-41001.
Second. Commissioner Wilson to authorize the annual draw in the amount of $5,000 for the Brazos Valley Soil and River Conservation District to be used in the maintenance of the 2 flood control dams located in Hood County as stated in the motion. Second by Commissioner Eagle. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously 5-0. Item number 7, discuss and take appropriate action to appoint a 5-member development commission per Title VII Regulation of Land Use, Structures, Businesses, and Related Activities, Subtitle B, County Regulatory Authority, Chapter 231.227, County Zoning Authority, Subchapter K, Development Regulations in Hood County. We have also, we do have, we do have 4 speakers.
Judge, can I throw in on a couple of things here real quick?
You bet. Go ahead, Commissioner.
I wanted to, I was taking some notes up here, some of the things that were said today. We do not have the power, the authority, or anything else to put a moratorium in place. I assure you, if some of these things were at our disposal, we would already be either done or discussing them. We do not have the authority to put a moratorium in place. Matter of fact, subsection K, golly, I've kind of compared this, came up with an analogy here. The beginning of subsection K gives a very grandiose idea of what we can do with this. And I've likened it to them saying, hey, you can use the authority of this thing to build a car, but here's a spoon, a lighter, and an angle grinder. Go knock yourself out. The authority that it grants us in subsection K is very limited, and this is the difficult part of how do we get from A to B with the authorities that are outlined here. Counties have specific authority given to them by the state. We do not have ordinance power. We can't go in and set up, and this, although it's in the portion of local government code where the counties that they do allow zoning, it does not grant us zoning authority. We can create districts, but what does that mean? Inside those districts, it tells us that we can, and this is where 223, the authorities that are specifically designated to Hood County to work with, that's where, population density. Well, that doesn't have anything to do with commercial buildings. The size of buildings, is there something there that we can work with? Potentially. And the thing that I find the most, that seems to give the most hope in this thing is that there's an abatement for harm to water, inadequate water and wastewater facilities. That seems to be the strongest tool that we could have in subsection K. I do want to, this is something that we've been struggling with. I promise this has been an absolutely front and center issue. I would dare say with everybody on this court. And it's just the beginning of this thing lays out the purpose, but then whenever it gives us the actual tools to work with, they're very limited. So what I would like to do is invite people to look at that 223, and that's where we wanted to get the voice. That's where we wanted to get people coming in and saying, hey, look at this thing this way. This is something that you could use in there, because they're, the wise counsel of many. The more people we have thinking about this, focusing on this, the better chance we have of coming up with a solution. So, but it's the 223 is really where the tools and the authority come from. So kind of focus on that. It's 231.223. Okay.
Well, I'd like to say one other thing. That's why this Commissioners Court here hired Blakely Fernandez of the Bracewell firm to represent the county in this negotiation. She is a very experienced attorney who has represented other counties in various negotiations with companies, gas, Barnett Shale type companies, digital companies, and we need her expertise in really taking this subchapter K and trying to make it something that we can use offensively in our negotiations with these data centers and power plants. So that was a really good move, and that's what she is working on as we speak. So with that, do I hear a motion?
Oh, well, we gotta.
Well, we've got, fortunately, we have 17 applications for this 5-member commission. It has to be 5 members too, is what the regulations that were drafted back in 1999, and the commission at one time, and then it went defunct. And all we're doing is just resurrecting this development commission, which I think is a great idea. So, okay. So we do have 4 speakers here, and the first speaker is Brian Glenn.
Commissioners, I'm here to tell you, I'm here again because I want to belabor this point. I know we've heard a lot of it, but this is very important, and I'm a little distressed to what I heard about how little teeth we have. I think from the experience I've had, you have as much teeth as you're willing to use. And I think that it's very good that we hired a law firm to help us with this. I have lauded you for this effort. I appreciate that. I'm very glad that you've set up or about to set up a commissioner's advisory board to look into this. We need to look into this. We need to look at all the legal avenues that we have. But I believe some of the legal avenues that we have, as was said, water, and I think air, we got to get on TEC to make sure they don't do what happened over in Johnson County to authorize work here in Hood County. I don't understand how that can happen. That might be something worth looking into too, as far as the legalities of it. We need to require drainage and wastewater, closed loop systems. This is imperative. We have to have this come out of this commission. We also have to ensure that we've got good monitoring of the water system, and studies have been performed to show how is this going to affect it. And I quite honestly believe no one really knows. They talk a lot of talk, but no one really knows. When you start talking about 150,000 gallons a day, 1 million gallons, to 95 million gallons, I can't fathom that kind of money or that kind of water. We need to review what's happening to the drainage. Unregulated runoff is going to just completely destroy this county. And I appreciate that we're looking into it. And as I said, I'm here to belabor this point, and I will continue to do so every chance I have. Thank you for your time.
Next speaker, John Highsmith.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. I'm John Highsmith, live in Pecan Plantation. So what I'd like to do is very briefly lay out where we are in terms of gas-powered plants in this county. And it's astounding that there could be a total of 7 of these plants in Hood County. And I'm going to list them very quickly. Wolf Hollow 1, existing. Wolf Hollow 2, existing. Wolf Hollow 3, under construction. De Cordova Steam Station, existing. Pacifico Fort Spunky, proposed data center, 560 acres. Sailfish Toller, proposed data center, 2,600 acres. Patriot Project, Bilateral Energy. TCEQ has issued a permit on July 9th, 2025. And then there's more. Our neighbors in Somerville County are concerned about 765 kilovolt power lines that Oncor proposes putting on, are you ready? 2 sides of Dinosaur Valley State Park. Do you think Hood County will be spared the giant transmission lines? I think not. Here is a headline from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram dated December 4th, 2025. Proposed data center campus worries tourist destinations south of Fort Worth. So it's already started, and once these things actually are under construction, can you imagine the headlines? I think they'll continue on and on. So Hood County has been out of compliance on ozone for the past 3 years. EPA is in the process of designating Hood County as non-attainment. So we can expect that at any time. According to Michelle McKenzie with Hood County Clean Air Coalition, if all these proposed projects come about, nitrogen oxides in Hood County will double. And then these air pollution concerns can then be added to worries about noise pollution, light pollution, road deterioration, property value reductions, and massive water usage, et cetera. And you've heard all of that this morning, and you've heard it before. So I think the Development Commission on the agenda today is much needed. I applaud the court's efforts in establishing this commission. The fight for thoughtful development is a difficult one, but I know what will happen if there is no fight. Thank you.
The next speaker is Bob Slater.
County Commissioners, Judge, thank you very much. My speech is cut a little bit short because of the great opening remarks of a number of people, but let me at least comment on a few things. I'm from Pecan Plantation, and in that area where a data center has been proposed, every community, in my opinion, has a soul. We have one, and it's kind of embodied in a way when you go to the courthouse or you see the general outside or you see those wonderful flags of people who have served this community. And they came to this community, served their country, and basically wanted to return here so they could sit on the porch, perhaps have a drink or a cup of coffee, relax, and just look at a deer or whatever. I think we're at a point where you could define Hood County, Granbury, as a gateway. Are we a gateway to recreation, or are we a gateway to industrial development? I'm sure many people would say there's a balance. We all understand what capitalism is, and we also understand what destructive capitalism is. And I think we have a measure of destructive capitalism going on with data centers. And I think we ought to be cognizant of that as we look at what our options are and how we can deal with it. I'd prefer not to deal with it at all. I think we have barbarians at the gate, if I can quote a phrase. If we could stop them now, if we could find some regulations that pertain to this kind of industrial development and keep it under control, sensible control, I think we have an out. I think we have a way of dealing with it. And I think some of the steps you've already taken make sense. We're an all-American community, are we not? We're defined as such by various publications. But are we an all-American community for industrial development? Is that how Granbury wants to be perceived? Or are we an all-American development for what we represent historically, religiously, and in whatever way we wish to be? I would say that our soul is tied up in this. How we wish to live, how we wish to live the rest of our lives, so to speak. And I think your decisions will be critical to that process. We have to find a way out that makes sense for all of us. I don't think we found it yet. So my only comment would be, let's saddle up. Let's get on with it. Let's deal with it now. Let's deal with it quickly. Thank you.
The next speaker is Donna Keller. Kelleher.
Yes. My name's Donna Kelleher, and I'm thankful that I get to address the Commissioners Court and you, Judge Massengill. So we're talking about Chapter K, and we're talking about the limitations of Chapter K. So I have a diverse background in terms that I've built a building in Hood County, in the county, and I also, years ago, project managed large distribution center projects in the Metroplex. So there I was, putting up my new building on Daisy Drive in Eastwood Village. I used to own the limo service until I got Ubered out of business. You know, one of those technology things. But I'm building this building and I'm asking myself, okay, I'm going to call for inspection. Well, there is no inspection. I'm going to call for plan review. Well, there is no plan review. So pretty much, you know, I had some good resources and I was able to get my building built. But this opportunistic era that we're in with this AI data center, they're looking at Hood County because they know there's no plan review, there's no plan inspection that they have to deal with. So we become what carpetbaggers used to do. They go to the areas where, you know, it's all just wide open and they can pretty much have their way. We have to stop that. So how can we throw up some barriers? All right, let's talk about impervious coverage. Let's take 2,600 acres. If you have a 250,000 square foot distribution center, you need a site that's about 10 acres. Well, they don't have all the employees, right? They only have 10 or 20 employees, so they're not going to need the parking, so the building's going to be even bigger. So impervious coverage. How much coverage will we allow in our county? If they have 2,600 acres, how much of it is going to be covered in concrete? That's permanent, by the way. Let's talk about plan review. If you have state statutes that you can adopt, you have federal statutes that you can adopt, you're going to be a little bit ahead, because I guarantee you they're looking for the lowest cost solution. They're going to have these basically crappy buildings, and they're going to go for the least cost solution possible. So what standards do we wish to adopt that are state standards, national standards, insurance standards, that can help assure that their little cost of construction might go up because they have to have some quality? All right, let's talk about fire protection. All right, is it factory mutual fire protection that we're going to have? And by the way, who's going to answer that alarm? And how much water do they have on site? And what type of fire suppression systems are they going to have? If you are building in a county, let's say I did a BMW facility in Senatobia, Mississippi, okay? Why'd they go there? Because they didn't have to have the type of fire suppression systems that they might have had to have had in Memphis, Tennessee. So, you know, what's fire protection for us? Oh my God, it's the biggest risk we have. You get a giant fire going, how are we going to put it out? Who's going to put it out? With what? Okay, so we have that. Environmental impact studies. Okay, golden cheek warbler, black-cap vireo. We're on the Central Flyway. If they have retention ponds with contaminated water and you have endangered species coming in that, you know, these are the same birds, they're 15 and 20-year-old birds that are migrating through here, and they land on one of those contaminated ponds, you know, you have an environmental impact. You do. All right, what about a tree ordinance? How many trees are they going to take out? We have juniper, ash, and oak, and that's critical habitat for the black-cap vireo and the golden cheek warbler. Very specific, kind of fragile habitat. And it takes years and years and years to get that habitat. We're talking about something that's permanent here. And it doesn't take them long to come in and flatten everything, because you got to keep in mind with 2,500 acre site, they're going to flatten all of it. Okay, so
You've got that. And then the other thing too is we need to do some risk assessment here. And I say this in the context of product life cycle curves, okay? You know, talk about your television. You know, I remember having an old tube TV and you used to put it out at the curb and, oh my gosh, it took 2 weeks for someone to take it because nobody wants old technology. That is what's being proposed here is old technology. If you look at the chip technology that's available today, there's going to be a migration from the current existing chips. And there's even a little company that's doing compute in memory, and they use 2% of the power. Instead of having water for cooling, there are oil-based systems. There's all new technology. Pretty soon, they'll be computing in space. And we're just going to be here saying, what do we do with this 2,600-acre site that's covered in these crappy old buildings? What are we going to do with them? Grow food inside?
Thank you.
So
Your
my
time's-
time's up, but I'd love to be on the committee, and that's all. Thank you.
So we're at the point of the appointment of the 5-member Development Commission. Christine has, our county clerk has pulled up the requirements that are already in our regulations based on when the commission was first put together back in 2000. So just to review that, each member shall be a resident of Hood County. I know there was some questions about that, but this is what's already, when you take subchapter K and it was applied to create this, which allows for a commission, and then this is what the regulations that were adopted. Now, the future committee could recommend that these be changed, but at the current time, this is what the regulations state. Chair shall be a public official in Hood County. We did get some additional counsel from our attorney that we hired that this is a voting member. It's an ex officio member, but it is a voting member. This member will serve as a chair, but also the county official as the county official to ensure public meeting notices, agendas, and minutes are handled according to government code, and to ensure other county support staff are in the communications loop. For example, if we need to engage the county attorney, or if the commission wanted to engage the county attorney. So with that, then there's, as you can see, the maximum term is 2 years. The precinct 2 and 4 are reappointed in even years. So since we're about to appoint in 2025, next year's 2026, 2 and 4 will be reappointed next December until they get on a 2-year cycle. And then if you'll go to the next page, the lines highlighted in red, when people ask me what is this, what are the responsibilities of this commission? Well, here it is here, but what I would say, and our attorney highlighted them in red, is the first order of duty is to take subchapter K and complete the first 2 that are highlighted in red, make recommendations to the Commissioners Court concerning modifications and implementation. So look at the 78-page document that's already out on our website under the development section of our website with an eye towards subchapter K and see if there's anything that should be changed, recommend changes. So to me, that would be the first order of business, and listening to all of the speakers today, I think that that is top of your mind too. So question, do you want to start with precinct 1 or do y'all want to start with the chair?
Maybe a couple comments. Number one, in precinct 1, we had 3 applicants. Of the 17 applicants, 3 of them are out of county, so they're eliminated right off the bat. Precinct 2, we had a total of 6 applicants. Precinct 3, only 1. Precinct 4, we had 4 applicants. So, that's, if we're gonna, fill them with that, they need to be, for those applicants at that point.
Can you go back to that? Did it say that they had to live in that precinct or just that they were
Live in Hood.
by that, representing that? Yeah. Okay. All right.
So the other question I had for our attorney was the ex officio member did not need to, since it's a public official in Hood County, they did not need to fill out the application form. So, so do you want to start with precinct 1 or the chair?
I'm ready.
Okay, go ahead.
For precinct 1, I'd like to nominate Tyler Scott. He is just kind of a couple of points here. He's got a BS in environmental engineering and a licensed professional engineer in Texas. He's been in the development business and seems like a very knowledgeable and
Tyler Scott.
Tyler Scott.
Yeah. I think
Motion,
we vote one at a time, yeah.
I will second that motion.
All right, Jack, second that. So.
No, he had
Oh,
some.
Yeah, that's just the one that I wanted to nominate from precinct 1.
Tyler Scott, all right, good.
We're going to vote on it?
So our nomination, so
We're going to vote on his, all right.
you've already seconded, haven't you? Well, motion been made by Commissioner Andrews to nominate Tyler Scott as a member of the Development Commission, second by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Tyler Scott is our first member.
And thank you for agreeing to do that. So, he's back there. So.
And just say, so precinct 2, you know, I'm so blessed and just the experience and the talent and the people that are willing to serve this community is really amazing to me, and I'm amazed every day. The more people that I meet and learn their backgrounds, it's just really, so many good applicants. So I'm going to nominate Matt Long, and I think all of you have heard him today. And his background, he was on economic development corporate board in another community. He's a real estate developer. He's been in construction for 20 years. You heard him here today. I think that hopefully you will agree that he's a good nomination for this. And also, just as Ms. Kelleher mentioned, that doesn't mean that they can't seek input. I mean, these are public meetings as well. So there's ability, and I hope that all the people that applied that were not selected will still go to these meetings and provide their input to the 5 voting members. So
yeah, especially there are a couple out of county that brought a great deal of experience and qualification to this thing that we absolutely still value your input in this.
So
By Commissioner Samuelson to nominate Matt Long to the Development Commission, second by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. So Matt Young is the second member. Long, I'm sorry, is the member. He's also the husband of the mother of 9. Remember that? So, okay. All right. Now for commission.
Precinct 3, we only had one applicant, and that's Todd Gammer. And, with that, I will make a motion that we nominate Todd Gammer, for the board.
Garner, is it Garner?
It's Garner.
Garner.
Well, it's M on the application. That's okay. So that's what it is Garner. I apologize, but it's M on the application. Typo.
I'll second it.
Motion is made by Commissioner Wilson to nominate Todd Garner, second by Commissioner Samuelson. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Again, unanimous. Congratulations, Mr. Garner. That's precinct 3. Okay. Now precinct 4.
So
we had we had some good applicants. Richard Hayes, you're spread pretty thin these days, I'm pretty sure, but I do appreciate you applying, and Mike Scott applied, but I'm going to nominate Robert Carter. He's an attorney by trade. He's worked in development. He worked for the City of Euless Economic Development Board in the past, and he's got legal experience as well to bring to the table. So my nomination is for Robert Carter.
Nomination by Commissioner Eagle for Precinct 4 is Robert Carter, second by Commissioner Andrews. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimous again for Mr. Carter. So, takes care of that. Now for the elected official.
So when I was, just after talking to our attorney and the duties of the member, of the ex officio member with the requirements of the chair, I believe our county clerk would be a great fit for this chair. The county clerk would need to be present anyway to take minutes, so this would serve a dual purpose. And, you know, Clint, or Mr. Head, will also be a resource because he's the development director. So this doesn't mean that he's not going to be involved, just to make that clear. So I would move that we appoint our county clerk as the ex officio member.
Second.
Oh, I tell you this, I really think that our economic, on the discussion here, on the thing, I love Christine. She has done a fabulous job as our county clerk here. She's going to have to be there to take the notes and the minutes of the deal. But I think that's kind of slighting our economic development guy here, Clint Head, who's. You're not, so you can, okay, so you're going to be there to advise us, right? Okay.
Have to be there. Things will have to go through him anyway.
All right, so motion's been made to nominate by Commissioner Samuelson Christine Lethbridge as the elected official to serve as chairman of the Development Commission. Second by Commissioner Eagle. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously. So that takes care of this Economic Commission. Good luck. So at this time, we're going to take a 10-minute break and be back here at 11:30 to finish the docket. We've been in. and gentlemen, we're gonna, at 20 minutes to 12, we are back into session here. And the next item is to consider and take appropriate action to authorize the January 1st, 2026 reappointment of Hood County Fire Marshal and approve bond in accordance with Government Code 352.011. And I'd like to make the motion to reappoint Mr. Jeff Young as our Hood County Fire Marshal, because I'm afraid that we'll lose the magic deal that every time he declares a fire ban, it starts raining, and we all get a real good right. So with that condition, and if you don't, that doesn't happen, I may have to reevaluate that, Jeff, so not putting any real pressure on you, just keep up the good work. So that's my nomination. Okay. Any further discussion?
I'll go with the Rain Man.
All right. So,
Judge Wapner comes on at 7.
all right. A motion been made by County Judge Ron Bassingo, second by Commissioner Kevin Andrews to reappoint Mr. Jeff Young as our Hood County Fire Marshal and improve the bond in accordance with Government Code 352.011. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Unanimous.
Thank you, sir.
The pressure's on you. Keep up the good job.
I'll try to keep my connection.
We're not going to let that Rain Man thing go either. That,
The Rain Man.
All right.
I like the ring of
Item
that.
number 9, discuss and take appropriate action to create a Hood County Radio System Advisory Board with key stakeholders as addressed in the Avistas as-is evaluation of the radio system strategy for Hood County dated November 17, 2025. Okay. No speakers, I don't guess. Commissioner Wilson.
Okay, again, this is a result of the Avistas as-is evaluation for the radio system strategy for Hood County dated November 17, 2025. Excuse me. And, you know, it doesn't address how many, but I think the key players in Hood County are Margaret Campbell, Sean McGuire, and Travis. So those would be the initial ones if there need to be more added at some point, but that's who I would suggest at this point would be on the Hood County Radio System Advisory Board.
Do we know how many people we want to put on it? Is anybody, you want to do 5? I like 5 members on the deal.
So is this just the initial one with just the county, and then later on
The
it may
stakeholders.
expand
Yep.
with, but is, are there,
got something to add to this thing here?
Sean, would you like to come up here and
are there roles
as long as
in,
you don't take up too much time, Sean, I'm hungry. It's 11:45. We've had
are there roles and
21
responsibilities?
speakers today here. Margaret,
Are you getting overtime pay, Judge?
do what?
You get overtime pay.
Yeah, I really do. Yeah, sure. Yeah,
Sure.
sure do. Bonuses too. Yes.
I don't have a lot to add, but I do think that it would be wise to appoint the county group first and then allow us to, if you all are willing, allow us to work on a broader advisory panel. Because I think a broader advisory committee is important for the longevity of the network, but you got to get your core group in there first.
Yeah.
So that's
Well, you've
probably.
been working on that. You know the people from Somerville and ERAF. Y'all been working with them and see what they want to do on the deal. I think that's a great idea. So he's made a motion. Did you second it? Kevin?
Did you,
Yeah. All right, a motion been made by Commissioner Wilson to appoint Margaret Campbell, Sean McGuire, and what's Travis's last name?
Watkins.
Watkins? Travis Watkins as the first 3 members of the Hood County Radio Advisory Board.
yeah, I do, I'm gonna ask that we add, because it's so interconnected, and even in here with some of the recommendations that they have about facility, IT and dispatch, that we add Mr. Stephen as a member.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe we get, okay. Stephen Graft, right? Grafe. Graef. I just got down Hayes. Now I got a new one to get a, why don't you do something easy like Massengill? So easy to pronounce phonetically on the thing.
So can I amend the motion?
Still all right with you?
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's a good deal. So the motion would then include also Stephen Grace. I think, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously. So those are the first 4 members of the board. Okay. All right. Okay, down. Item number 10, discuss and take appropriate action to allow the county judge to sign a memorandum of understanding with the Hood County CPS Board to receive a grant for public assistance from the 2025 Hood County budget. Ms. Auditor, this is something we do all the time, every time?
We did the line share of them last work. This one was not involved in all that.
Okay, so, so we get some grant money, is that what?
No, this is
Okay,
them just agreeing to use the funds as per their stated request when we approved it in the budget.
so I hear a motion.
I move that we allow the county judge to sign the memorandum of understanding with the Hood County CPS Board to receive a grant for public assistance from the 25-26 Hood County budget.
Second. Okay. Motion has been made to allow the county judge to sign a memorandum of understanding with the Hood County CPS Board to receive a grant, second by Commissioner Wilson. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously 5-0. Item number 11, discuss and consider adoption of Twin Sisters Court into the county maintenance system. Petitioners initially made application in 2017, including affidavits, and were under the impression the road had been accepted. The road does not meet current requirements to be considered for acceptance, but those conditions were implemented in 2019. Okay. I'll find any paperwork.
After digging around a little bit, Todd did come up with a folder there that was the initial submittal.
Todd Tuggle, road off.
I actually did come up and find the paperwork, the petition and everything for the petition for the road acceptance that they had done in 2017. But I did find there was a couple signatures that they did not get at that time. Was one couple that they tried sending certified letters to get the signatures and wasn't able to. It was returned to sender every time. There was another landowner that it was Mr. and Mrs. that had divorced. She had left out, moved out of the state. And he was actually in the hospital with an illness at the time that it was all going on. So,
Further part of the confusion, they thought everything was accepted, so they quit working on it, and that was where the whole thing came from on that. So. Right, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, I'll make a motion, and I handed out the amended acceptance policy to include a little statement there at the bottom that says no guarantee when the road is going to be done or how that surface is going to be prepared. Yes, they sign affidavits to attach to that, but you see there at that bottom, I added that little language in that box. I did not. That will be, yeah. And that will be the top box there is checked on, go down just a little bit. Right here. It has been officially dedicated to the public. So check that box and then what's that number? Volume 1, page 69 will be there as recorded for that application. So with that, I will make a motion to accept Twin Sisters Court into the county maintenance system. And all the petitioners along that roadway will have to sign the petition granting or asking for this to become a publicly dedicated roadway with the amendment to the application that I'm making.
So you're saying that it's accepted contingent on receiving all of these back from the people that live along the road?
Correct.
Okay.
100% participation.
Okay.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Andrews to adopt the Texas supported county Davidson Center on the express condition that there's 100% participation in the people along that road, correct? Second by,
I'll second it.
Director Samuelson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously by 0. Thank you, Todd, for doing that. That cleared up a big head. Thank you. Okay, this brings us to the consent agenda, and I have been instructed by our illustrious purchasing agent to pull item F2. So we're pulling F2, but we're still negotiating on that. Does anyone wish to pull anything or make a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to adopt the consent agenda minus item F2.
A motion made by Commissioner Eagle to adopt the consent agenda with the exception of pulling item F2, second by Commissioner Wilson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously by 0. This brings us to road obstacle plan development. Public hearing to discuss and consider the replat of the Cordova Hills Phase 1 lots 27R1 and 27R2. So at this time, at 9 minutes till 12, we are in a public hearing, and yes, sir, Mr. Clint Ed.
All right, this is the subdividing of lot 27R and create lot 27R1 and 27R2. Lot 27R2 is intended to be used for landscaping and a monument sign, and the plat has it restricted to that use. To do so, there will eventually be a road on, I guess it'd be the southwesterly or southeasterly side of that. And the property is located in the rural district in precinct 3, and it's served by E-Mud water and on-site sewage facilities. The lots will access existing Bob White Drive, and all comments have been addressed.
So you recommend. Is there anybody here in the public that wishes to speak on Dayport over Hill? If not, at 7 minutes till noon, we are convening back into Commissioner's Court. Do I hear a motion?
Yes, I move that we approve the replat of Cordova Hills Phase 1 lots 27-R1 and 27-R2.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Wilson to approve the replat of Cordova Hills Phase 1 lot 27R1 and 27R2. Second by Commissioner Eagle. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously by 0. So at this time, at 6 minutes to noon, we are entering into a public hearing. Yes, sir, Mr. Head.
All right, this is a public hearing for infrastructure development plan of Butterfly Grove RV Park. This property is located at 3104 Springtime Street and is in the road corridor district in precinct 1. It's part of the Odara Watson survey abstract number 582. The original community of Thorpe Springs plat or map, it wouldn't be a plat, Hood County, Texas, comprising of all lots 1, 2, 3, and 4 of Block 20, all of lots 4 and 5 of Block 13, portions of Lot 3 and 6 of Block 13, and portions of the adjacent unopened road right-of-way as shown on the original Thorpe Springs plat recorded in volume 138, page 395. This infrastructure development plan proposes to create 47 RV spaces and an amenities building, which is compliant with the development regulations for an RV park served by public water. An application has been submitted to TCEQ to have the water wells certified as public. All comments have been addressed. Staff recommends conditional approval on this infrastructure development plan, but contingent upon TCEQ approving the public water wells. If TCEQ should not approve the permits for a public water well, then the density would not be in compliance with the regulations, and there would be, and this amount would have way more connections than the state allows by law on a private well.
Okay. Does anybody in the public wish to make comment on the infrastructure infrastructure development plan of Butterfly Grove? If not, at 5 minutes to 12, we convene back into Commissioner's Court. Can I get a motion?
Yeah, Judge, I'll make a motion to conditionally approve the infrastructure development plan of Butterfly Grove RV Park contingent upon TCEQ's approval of the public water supply.
Correct.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Andrews to conditionally approve the infrastructure development plan of Butterfly Grove on the contingency from TCEQ, second by Commissioner Evil. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously. 5-0. Item C, discussing the general submittal schedule and development only acceptance submittals on Schedule A for either all submittal or any site development plan or infrastructure development plan. This schedule will be dependent on when the Development Commission would meet. What do you mean by that?
The Development Commission is basically a second commissioner.
Law school too on the side. You want a night school?
The Development Commission is basically a second commissioner's court as it's wrote in the regulations right now. I mean, back when it was enacted, there were 60 days to get things through so it could go through there and then come through here. After some conversation with Nanette and Kevin and others, this might be more along the lines of a workshop discussion so we can determine exactly what those duties are, because with the 30-day requirement, we're kind of defeating the purpose if we go to the Development Commission and I miss the 30-day mark in Commissioner's Court and they're automatically approved.
Oh, that's, so we need to, I think we need to have a workshop to discuss this, kind of line it up with when the Development Commission's going to meet.
Maybe we need to redefine the duties as they're wrote in 3.1.
Yeah, I think that's probably the answer, because that's more, I think the setup on that is more like a P&Z board where, you know, they take each site development plan and then recommend approval by Commissioner's Court. I don't think we're looking for that step. We just want to find out where we need to be with our regulations.
I'm not saying it worked back when they had it in before, but it was feasible before because we didn't have the 30-day time clock.
Yeah, and that's why I was focusing on the two parts that were in red on what the powers and duties were, because the part that's in black is all of the part about reviewing plans before they're submitted, and all of that's not what we were really intending this commission to do. We want them to.
Yes, it's kind of what I took from the conversation between you and Kevin. It was more of a steering committee type operation, but to keep us out of trouble and not have stuff automatically approved without y'all approving it, we need to rework that.
So how soon would we need to have the workshop?
That's up to y'all. Not Christmas.
Okay. So after the first of the year?
That's up, yeah.
Yeah. I
mean, we have time
trying
until
to see what he was
as long as we
expecting.
get it done before we call the first commission meeting. All right, thanks.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, now for the financial.
Well, hello. I have a few items here today. Consider certification of payment of invoices for the period November 15th, 2025 through November 26th, 2025. Discuss vendor payment over $10,000 and take appropriate action. Expenditures for December 9, 2025 Commissioners Court are $522,672.54.
I hear a motion to pay the bills.
Move to pay the bills at amount of $522,672.54.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Evil to pay the bills in the amount of $522,672.54. Second by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously. What else do you got for us?
All right, I have monthly reports. Here I have bank reconciliations and a couple audits. So consider the financial reports received and reviewed by the Audit Department for the period of November 1st, 2025 through November 15th, 2025, and take appropriate action. The Auditor's Office has reviewed all of these reports and recommends your acceptance.
That we approve the financial reports as reviewed by the Audit Department for the period of November 1, 2025 through November 15, 2025.
Second. Motion made by Commissioner Wilkins to approve the financial reports as stated by the auditor, second by Commissioner Eagle. All those in favor, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye. And
All righty, the next are consider bank reconciliations received and reviewed by the Audit Department for the period of November 1st, 2025 through November 15th, 2025, and take appropriate action. The Auditor's Office has reviewed all bank statements and recommends the court accepts them.
that we accept the Audit Department's review of the bank statements from November 1st, 2025 through November 15th, 2025. Aye.
All right, our office has done an audit for FY24 for the library, and there were no findings. We recommend the court accepts it.
Okay.
Aye. All opposed, say no. Motion carries unanimously. 5, acknowledge and accept the 2025 review of the Hood County Constable Precinct 3 financial records.
Okie dokie. So the audit office has reviewed the 2025 financial audit for Constable Precinct 3. There were no findings, and we recommend the court accepts it.
I move that we accept the 2025 review of Hood County Constable Precinct 3 financial records.
Second.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All unanimous.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any business here before this honorable court meeting? If not, we are adjourned at 3 minutes after high noon. Thank you.
What's interesting, what was interesting